You owe us $180,000. My father didn't say hello. He didn't ask about the flight I'd just taken to get here. He just pointed a thick, trembling finger at my chest and slammed a greasy, tear-stained ledger onto the mahogany lunch table. For your brother's failed business, for the shame he's carrying, it's time to pay the blood debt, Elena. He shoved a computer-generated payment plan toward me. Starting today, I was expected to transfer $3,500 a month into an account I didn't control, or I was erased from the family tree. Before I tell you how I liquidated their expectations, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I'd love to know who's part of our community that I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I'm a senior fraud analyst. I don't deal in emotion, I deal in evidence. I looked at the ledger, then at the predatory hope in my mother's eyes. They saw an ATM with a pulse. I saw a fraudulent claim that my mother sniffled, her hand hovering over her wine glass like a practice stage prop. He sacrificed his entire future for you, Elena. You wouldn't even have that degree if Leo hadn't given up his college fund to pay for your medical emergency. This was their favorite scripture, the gospel of Leo's heroism. According to the family legend, 15 years ago, my brother was a saint who took a financial bullet to save my life. I watched Leo now, leaning back in his chair, picking at his teeth with the smug satisfaction of a man who actually believed his own lie, but as he spoke, the real data flashed in my mind. 10 years of forensic training has taught me that memories are fuzzy, but bank statements are eternal. I knew the truth they had buried, that medical emergency was a minor procedure covered by insurance. The college fund? Leo didn't give it up. He gambled it away on offshore betting sites before he even finished his freshman semester. They didn't sacrifice their son to save a daughter, they sacrificed the truth to protect a coward that I didn't argue with their fiction. I reached into my bag and pulled out my laptop, the blue light of the screen cutting through the warm, deceptive glow of the dining room. They thought they had ambushed me with a Sunday lunch, but they forgot that I spend my days hunting ghosts in the machine. Let's look at the actual audit, I said, my voice flat and clinical. 3 weeks ago, a high-risk credit alert hit my phone at 2 a.m. A hard inquiry for a $60,000 personal loan in my name originated from an IP address mapped directly to my parents' home office. I didn't call in a rage, I followed the breadcrumbs. The digital fingerprint was sloppy. They hadn't just tried to steal my credit, they had forged a power of attorney document to leverage my house as collateral for Leo's gambling debts. I scrolled through the records, showing them the insurance payout from 2014 they'd already pocketed for the very debt they were now trying to sell back to me. The numbers didn't lie. They were double-dipping on a tragedy that never even cost them a dime. That I touched the heavy manila envelope Gary pushed toward me, my fingers grazing the paper they thought was my financial death sentence. You really thought of everything, I said, a thin smile playing on my lips. The logistics, the burden, it's all so very clean. We just want to help you do the right thing, Susan added, her eyes gleaming with predatory hope. That I leaned back, the cold calm of a completed audit settling over me. I agree. Which is why I can't sign this. Not because I won't, but because the asset you're trying to leverage, my house, doesn't exist on your balance sheet anymore. The silence that followed was absolute. I pulled out a single sheet of paper, a photocopy of a cashier's check. I executed a sale-leaseback agreement 48 hours ago. I sold the property for cash to a private investment firm. The equity? It's already been moved into an irrevocable trust managed by a firm that specializes in asset protection. You can't sue for it, you can't borrow against it, and you certainly can't forge my signature on a deed I no longer hold. Gary stood up so fast his chair tipped over with a violent crash. You sold my house? It was never your house, Gary, I said, my voice dropping an octave into a clinical chill. It was my name on the deed. My name on the mortgage. And now, it belongs to a holding company in Delaware. The realization hit them like a physical blow. Susan gripped the worthless power of attorney document, her face turning a sickly shade of gray. This was the extinction burst, the moment a narcissist realizes the host has escaped and the parasite begins to starve. Gary lunged across the table, his face a dangerous shade of purple. You ungrateful witch. We needed that money for the family. No, I countered, sliding my phone across the table with the screen facing up. You needed it to cover Leo's felony insurance fraud. But you're too late. I pointed to the timer on the screen. I hadn't just been recording, I had dialed 911 the moment the front door was locked. The line was live. The dispatcher had heard every threat, every admission of the secret loans, and the heavy thud of his fist on the table. The sirens weren't distant, they were in the driveway, painting the walls in alternating shades of blue and red. Police. Open the door, a heavy voice commanded. I didn't wait for Gary to move. I unlocked the deadbolt myself, stepping past my paralyzed father into the cool night air. I'm safe, I told the officers, but you'll find the evidence of extortion and insurance fraud right there on the table. I didn't look back to see the handcuffs click. I didn't need to. Peace is expensive, it costs you your history and the illusion of family, but as I sit on my new balcony, the audit is finally complete. My phone chimed with a final notification, judgment enforced. The state had seized the boat, garnished the wages, and forced an involuntary liquidation to recover the $180,000 they stole. That I opened my new ledger. I didn't write a grievance. I wrote a single number, my net worth. It was positive. I wasn't an asset to be liquidated by parasites anymore, I was a sovereign entity. The blood debt was paid in full.